Welcome to Metaverse Adventures. My name is Matthew. Today is May 11th, and this is your Oculus Quest Week in Review. And it has been yet another crazy week. You're going to love this episode. Thank you for joining me for yet another week of insane Oculus Quest news. We begin this week by looking at the Quest hype cycle. Now, hype cycles are very mysterious things to measure, for sure. However, and luckily for us, Google Trends, a free service that measures how many people are searching for keywords, provides us quite a bit of insight. I've got a chart here that I pulled together, and if you want to see this for yourself, there's links below where you can go and click. The blue line is Oculus Quest. The red line you see here is the Valve index, which is getting, as you probably have heard, quite a bit of hype. And the orange or yellow line is the Oculus Rift S. And you'll see that all three of these devices started to peak on May 1st in terms of how many people were searching. Now, this is web searches, and I got a similar one in a moment for YouTube. So that means that on May 1st, that people were searching like crazy for these devices. In fact, the Valve had the peak, as you can see here, but then that sharply falls off. And in fact, both the Oculus Rift S and the Valve Index haven't enjoyed a continuation of that hype. It sort of peaked and then kind of died off. Whereas you can see in the blue line with the Oculus Quest, it's remained strong. In fact, over the last day or so, it's actually beginning to go back up yet again. So this is exciting, and this really indicates there's a lot of interest out there for the Oculus Quest. To add to this data, we can go and look at Amazon's top 100 video games. Now, they publish this kind of in real time. You also can go look, link below, and it changes throughout the day. And as reported last week, the Oculus Quest 128 gigabyte model reached the #1 spot, which, as I said, is a big deal because only the PSVR has ever reached that position. All the other HMDs, with the Rift, the original Rift being the highest, only reached level 22, and all the rest are much more further down that list. So this is exciting. When we look at this week, of course, we're seeing things sort of settle down, but what's exciting is that they haven't fallen off the list. There was a lot of people saying that it was going to sell away like gangbusters last week when it first came out and all the pre-orders came in, and then those sales would just die off. But to my surprise, they're still maintaining some pretty high numbers. The 64 gigabyte model is remaining in the 30s, in the mid 30s, and the 128 gigabyte model is in the mid 40s. Now, I don't know what this is going to do over the next 2 weeks until we hit to launch date and what's going to happen after, but I do predict we're going to see it do a little up and down and probably swell down a little bit after launch. And then sometime thereafter, while people like me and probably a lot of you are out there showing your friends and your family and your colleagues and schoolmates this awesome device, I think we're going to see interest in searching begin to peak up again. So hold tight. I'll report on this every week. It's exciting for sure. Speaking of Amazon, they've also confirmed in writing to a couple of people on Reddit that they are indeed planning to have the Oculus Quest, both models, dropping on people's doorstops at their mailboxes or wherever they're going to be right on the 21st. They're not shipping on the 21st, they're delivering on the 21st. So for those of you who are worried about that, that's some pretty good news. And of course, if you don't have a pre-order in, if you went to get one today, you're definitely looking at another week, a delay, and probably going to get it around the 27th of May or later in some regions. But if you do want to get one on day one, places like Walmart and Best Buy and other sort of retailers are going to be selling this, and they're going to have, we hear, plenty of stock on the first day. So we'll see. I'm excited to see what my local Best Buy has in stock. On the gaming side, I got a number of titles I want to share with you this week. First and foremost is a launch title that you all know well, and that is Vader Immortal. This game has some tremendous amount of hype, and I must admit, I've been a little skeptical about some of the things I've been hearing about it. However, this week, a number of reputable blogs and websites have reported and done a review of Vader. And wow, I am very impressed. I am reading things that are really piquing my interest. People are saying that this is ushering in a whole new way of experiencing things. It's not a game. So those of you who are expecting to get a game, it's not. But it's also not a viewing experience either. In fact, the Industrial Light and Magic team behind this, ILM, have really struggled what to call the person that's experiencing this. and they sort of settled on either a participant or a visitor. And this sort of harks to me kind of the Disneyland or, one of the Disney theme park experiences where you're the guest and you go into that world and you have these really rich and deep experiences. And from what I'm reading about Vader Immortal and what I'm seeing in some of the preview videos that are now coming out, and there's a great gameplay video from Upload VR, which you can look at below. And there's a great article from Yahoo Entertainment, also linked below, you can go look at. Both give you a really good insights as to what is this experience. Just so you know, it's going to be 45 minutes to maybe an hour long. So it's not a long experience. The price is going to be $9.99. It is a launch title. And it does sound pretty cool. It sounds like something, like I said, like you would experience in a Disney park. So this is really something that I think we're going to see more of. In fact, I've already seen a lot of fans saying, hey, where's Harry Potter? Where's X-Men? Where's all my other franchises? So I think we're going to see some interesting experiences come to fruition if this particular experience does well. And just so you know, there's 2 more iterations coming. It's a trilogy. And this one, you get to wave a lightsaber, or you get to yield a lightsaber. And in the next 2, you get force powers. And they haven't revealed what those are, but I'm really hoping, please give me force push. That would be awesome in VR. And also in the Star Wars theme, this past Saturday was May the 4th be with you, which is a great celebration that happens all around the world to celebrate the Star Wars franchise. And over on Reddit, user D2 Shanks went ahead and got himself seated in his big screen theater, and he watched the original movies. And that's something that I think that it's hard to explain how cool that is. And for those of you who haven't tried big screen yet, it's an application that you can basically set up a living room to a large, multiplex sort of theater, and you can invite friends into that space. This is our VR friends, and together watch content. And this fellow was watching Star Wars: A New Hope in that massive virtual screen, and I cannot wait to see that on the Quest. Also in games today, the Oculus blog revealed yet another experience coming to the Quest for launch. Now, the Oculus blog, if you don't know, is published every Wednesday, and you can go ahead and see the link below. You can go and check it out. It's great to get kind of the dibs, and I'm sure as we approach launch and thereafter, we're going to be getting more and more information. It's a great place to get what's going on. They announced this week that the game called, or really it's an experience called Oculus Quest First Contact. Now, for those who are familiar with the Oculus Rift and have a pair of touch controllers, they may have tried this experience out. It's a nifty sort of introduction to VR where you get to fire guns and play with cassette tapes and interact with this really cool robot that really is quite uncanny, because when you look at it, it really does feel like it's looking back at you. It's a really interesting personal experience there. And it takes place in this sort of recreational trailer that's sort of an homage to Palmer Luckey, where he originally invented the Rift. If you read the book, The History of the Future, they talk about that in there a little bit. So I'm really excited to give that a try. And I'm excited to compare it, actually, do an A-B comparison to my Rift to see how it translates. And more on graphics in a little bit, because I have some exciting news about the Quest and its future graphics. And the last game in news this week is one called Battle Wake VR. Now, it's an interesting title from the makers of Raw Data and Creed Rise to Glory, which is also a launch title. What's interesting here, this is a 2-player, play versus environment, and cooperative play against the environment game. And it takes place on the high seas. It's sort of a Sea of Thieves, but in VR sort of experience. And the developer claims they've got some sort of system that doesn't make you feel sick. So that's very interesting, because you are on a boat in the high seas in this game, as you can see here. I'm excited for this one. If you are too, and you want to get in on their closed beta, there's a link below, and all you gotta do is sign up, let them know what kind of system you have, and you'll get an email. And apparently, we're gonna find out more information towards E3. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. I love knight and pirates and that sort of stuff.
Meet them where it hurts, swabbies! Unleash the Kraken!
One of the things that's being talked about a lot this week, that's getting a lot of buzz, is the Guardian system inside of the Quest. Now, the Guardian system is simply the system that allows you to set a safe play space wherever you are, say in your living room, where you'll literally draw on the ground the walls that you want to play within. and it shows up as this grid as you get close to an area. As you approach a wall, the wall was here. As I approach my wall, I'll start seeing a grid in VR warning me. And if I go past that barrier, I'll see the wall or the couch or whatever's on the other side. It will actually pass through in sort of black and white mode, so you can see what it's going to be. So that's just a really neat feature. Now, what's even more interesting is that people have been turning it off. So first, Cass and Cherry over on their channel confirmed this week that you can turn it off. And then Norman Jeremy from Tested on their show, This Is Only a Test, he confirmed that you can not only turn it off, but you can keep on walking. What's really cool is he sounds like a pretty large house. He walked across his main floor, up some sort of back stairs, across the top floor, back down some front stairs, and back to where he began. And he was blown away that the entire time he did that, it tracked him. And you can see in this video here where literally as he's going up the stairs in his house, he's sort of like elevating, like he's got like a jetpack on. He's kind of floating up off the floor, and then he goes across his floor, and then he goes back down the other side, and he goes back to where he began. And what he said is that the actual menu, the Oculus menu that he had brought up before he went on that trek, was still, as far as he can tell, in the exact same spot. It didn't seem to have any drift. And what's really impressive here is that he figures he walked about 100 feet in that loop. So that really opens up some very interesting possibilities with the Quest in terms of what else is it capable of. And you can see back in Oculus Connect 5, they're showing off their warehouse scale VR when they had a 4,000 square foot area being tracked and multiple players and real world objects in that environment being brought into VR. Like really cool stuff that no other platform is doing. And so what the future is for Quest is really, really exciting, especially when it comes to these even larger play spaces. I really hope one day that I can go to my local community center and get in a big VR match in a gymnasium with a whole bunch of friends. So let's see where it goes. One other thing this week, John Carmack, the CTO of Oculus, confirmed on Twitter that yes, indeed, there's going to be different home screen backgrounds. So that home environment you may have seen in a lot of previews is sort of this like futuristic dome building with lots of windows. You're going to be able to replace that. Now, with what? They haven't announced yet. But I suspect we're going to see space scenes and beach houses and mansions and top of tall skyscrapers and all sorts of mystical things and Western things and dungeons. So I'm really looking forward to dressing up my own home space with these custom buildings, these custom environments. So that's really exciting. I'm glad that John shared that with us this week. Also this week, there's been some interesting details coming out from developer Godin on Reddit about his title, Virtual Desktop. Now, you may have already heard about Virtual Desktop. It's a launch title. But what you may not realize is some of the features and what it's going to be doing. And I am personally very excited. I was already excited about it because I've used it in the past in other systems. But one thing in particular that really got me excited is that not only will we be able to connect to your home PC and be able to see your Windows environment within the Quest, but you can also do that from any internet connection. And so if you're like me, I need to remote into my PC at home quite often, and I'm doing it either on my phone, right, on my tiny little screen on my phone, or I'm in my office and I'm trying to access my very large computer screen on a tiny little, 14-inch laptop, and it makes it very hard to navigate. And so for me, having the ability to go and connect to my desktop anywhere with my Quest and just an internet connection and see my computer and be able to go up to it and look closely what it says, I think this is going to be a game changer. And it's only going to be between 10 and 15 bucks. So that's something to look out for. They don't have a Mac version yet, but Godin has said that they are working on it. So expect an update at some point down the line for those Mac users. I am really pumped about Virtual Desktop. Another thing happened really interesting this week. There was an interview with Google's AR VR division with CNET, and they're kind of talking about the future of VR for that organization. And we already know that they're makers of Daydream, and they've been pretty heavy right from day one with their, if you may recall, their Google Cardboard platform. And they've also worked with Lavono to build the Mirage Solo. And what's interesting is that we've been kind of expecting them to announce maybe an Oculus Quest competitor, But in fact, what we've heard is that there's no plans. The 3DoF controllers that came with the Mirage Solo are going to remain. The 6DoF that they did release as a development kit will not be coming out for consumer use. And so that's really disappointing to hear. And it really sort of was the only real strong contender at this time for a competitor to the Quest. Now, I know that there's the HTC Cosmos and the HTC Vive Focus. Those may or may not compete with the Quest. I hope someone does. It'd be nice to have more than one player in this space. But what's really interesting is that Google is taking a step back from this VR race right now. And I find it so strange that right at the beginning of probably the next big VR boom, that they're stepping back. But they are still committed to VR, and apparently they're working on something special. They're putting a lot of R&D into something that's going on, and we'll find out more about that at some point in the near future. What this really means, though, I want to boil it all down, is that it looks like for the foreseeable future, the Quest isn't really going to have a solid competitor. No solid room scale 6 degrees of freedom controllers and HMD. Nobody seems to be out there really competing. So Oculus is going to have a pretty good free run for the first little bit here. I'm sure until the sales numbers come in, and then everyone's going to want to jump in with their system. And who knows what Nintendo's cracking up, and PlayStation and Microsoft. I know all the major consoles are definitely keeping an eye on this space because they're a little worried about this could be eating into their market share. Another really exciting story that I want to talk about this week is that PC graphics are coming to the Quest. Now, by that I mean Unity. If you don't know who Unity is, they're one of the top video game engines that you can get today. They're kind of a big competitor of Unreal Engine, as you may have heard. They've come up with a new algorithm using AI to basically build virtual worlds that are normally would require super high-end PCs, but they're able to strip it all down into assembly code, which is very low-level machine language, and be able to produce graphics that normally you would not be able to do on a mobile device. And this isn't kind of in the future technology. In fact, they've already rolled it out. They actually rolled it out around the time of GDC back in March. And what's really exciting is that they're predicting that sometime probably around 2020, we'll start to see our very first PC level graphic games on the Quest. And they're very confident, and this is an article you can go look at, link below. They're very confident that we will see this and that this is something you can do today. And it's just a matter of time for developers to get comfortable with this environment. Of course, integrating to the development cycle, and games take months to years to develop. That's why they're saying 2020. But the tech is in the hands of developers today. If you're a developer here, please feel free to comment below or go ahead and contact me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this toolkit. Besides just this technology from Unity, Medium.com in the same article, also linked below, they talk about that in the near future, maybe 2021 to 2022, when 5G technology really takes off, and this will be like a Quest 2 sort of feature because Quest does not have a 5G network inside of it today. But they're predicting that by then, PC VR will be dead. There'll be no need to buy a PC anymore because when you have cloud computing power over a 5G network, that bandwidth is so high that you can stream ray trace graphics, like the best of the best that even the 2080 Ti couldn't do today. You can stream that directly to your VR device. And so we're entering a new era, and I think the Quest is really the very beginning of standalone VR, and in a few years from now, there'll be nothing but standalone VR. A wire and a PC to do VR will just seem so dated. I got two more stories before we wrap up this show. One is about business, and the other is about adult content, so you're not going to want to miss that one. On the business side, Oculus this past week announced Oculus for Business. It's their new business line where they're going to be selling HMDs like the Quest at a premium that come with high-end support in order for businesses to deploy them at scale. Now, this is something that I'm actually particularly excited about. I'm actually in business myself, and I've been pitching VR for years. And as I talked about in my predictions video, it's been really hard to get traction with the PC devices. It's just having a PC and a cable and having to bring people to a particular facility to use it just hasn't been very appealing. But because the Quest is wireless and standalone, it also opens up doors to now you could bring the device and many other devices out to the field, out to your employees and train them there, or give them experiences, or hand them out to your entire engineering team so they can all get together in a virtual environment and look at the latest designs. there's a lot of really interesting areas here, and I think it was very prudent of Oculus to launch this business line, and I think they're going to see some success. Now, I'll keep my ear to the ground on this one. I know it's not the most exciting thing for most of you viewers, but I know some of you are interested, and if you are interested in Oculus for Business, feel free to contact me because I have some things I'm working on the side that I'd love to share with you. And then finally, the last story for today is about porn. Now, I know a lot of you don't want to talk about this, but based on the search results and how many upvotes these sort of topics get on Reddit, there's a lot of interest. Now, sexlikereal.com, you may have heard of them, is a porn site, and you must be 18, of course, to go there. So this is only for the adults listening to this channel, I'm sorry. But they've announced that they're going to be supporting the Oculus Quest at launch with their 4K videos. Now, they're going to be $19.99 for a monthly subscription, and they're hoping that shortly thereafter, they're going to be able to access their 5K and even 6K content with a new plugin that they're creating that you'll use via the side loading process. Be a whole other video on how you do side loading. That's exciting because not only is those videos going to offer a higher resolution, but they're also promising that they're going to bring in the full 6 degrees of freedom. Now, unfortunately, the technology today does not allow you to walk around these scenes, but it will allow you to, get out closer. You'll be able to lean in and look. If you go side to side, unfortunately, it will warp it, they're saying. But that's a great step in the right direction because leaning in does provide yet a little bit more immersion. So that's really exciting. So go check them out. It's coming out on launch, and I know many of you are going to be trying that out. Okay, that's the end of the show for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. If I've missed something, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'll be sure to cover it off next week. If there's some topics you'd like me to cover in next week's show, also, by all means, comment, share me your feedback. I also like to shout out to username Taken56 down in the comments. They've been sending me all sorts of little tidbits and stories that I might want to cover. And I just want to shout out to them and thank them very much for doing that. And I'd like to ask any of you to please do the same. It helps me find the hot stories so I can report back to you at all. So that's it for this week. We'll see you next week and in the metaverse. Welcome to the bonus part of the show. For those of you who have actually made it this far and haven't signed off yet, I've got a little extra bonus for you. User DestroyX over on Reddit went ahead and looked at all the games that are on the Oculus Store that are also coming out for the Quest. And he went ahead and made a list of those over there. And so if you go click that link, you can go find out what the scores are for games that haven't come out for the Quest yet. And that might help you with your buying decision for your Quest launch titles. We'll see you all next week.